So let's go to the Zoom machine now and say hello to Brian Boom Kelleher, our old friend. Hello, Brian. How are you?
What's going on? How's everything?
Everything's going well. Good to talk to you again, my man. I'm sorry under these circumstances. Can you describe like what I feel like it kind of happened around this time last week that word started to get out that your fight was in jeopardy? What has the last week been like for you?
It's kind of been shitty, I was actually in Vegas when this happened, so I had already gotten there, and I was, dialed in. I was kind of, eating my meals, getting ready to cut weight, and that's when my phone rang. It was my manager, and he had told me he had some bad news, and he was on three-way line with Hunter Campbell, so I knew something was up because that's never happened before, and I was just kind of nervous, like what's going on. I really didn't have an idea what was going on, and that's when they broke the news to me.
And what was the news?
So essentially, I've been having like neck issues for quite some time. It would come and go. I kind of just chalked it up to that's the fight game. I would get stingers here and there in training. And it wasn't until like 3 weeks before my fight, I had like a really stiff neck, and I decided to get an MRI. And I wanted to get the best doctors to look at my neck. So I kind of reached out to my manager, the UFC. They set me up with hospital special surgeries. We looked over my images and everything, and they saw some things going on in my neck, and I thought, I have to fight, for money reasons, and just this is the last fight on my deal. So I was like, there's no way I'm pulling out of this fight. So I kind of left it be and kept training, just worked around the injury, and I felt good, honestly, coming into fight week. My neck really wasn't hurting or anything like that. It was just I knew there was some things going on that needed to be addressed after the fight. So I don't know why it took this long, but I got to Vegas, and when they called me, Hunter Campbell was on the phone. Nice guy, never met him, but
Well done. Well done.
but but he was like, "Hey, man, we looked at your images, and essentially they just expressed concern for my neck, and they were like, we can't let you go in there, with what we see." And I was just like in shock. I was like, what can I really say? Like they're telling me, your fight's off. Like we can't let you go in there. It's too risky. Like you have to address this, and we'll deal with it after.
Wow. And so what exactly is the issue with the neck? Like what are they seeing? What are they telling you?
So I mean, there's multiple things going on. There's like some disc herniations and some nerve compression stuff like that. And I've had issues, but I just never thought it was something serious. And essentially, I got to get a procedure done in order to move forward if I want to continue fighting. It's one of those things that's heartbreaking because I don't really feel in pain or anything like that. I do have slight symptoms here and there. I'll get like tingling in the hands and whatnot, but only if I really irritate it, or if I whiplash my neck, I'll feel like kind of burning down my arm, like, and I'll feel it. But otherwise, like right now talking to you, I feel like 100%. And I did fight week too. I felt ready to go in there.
And of the procedure that you would have to have in order to continue, how serious is that? Like how risky is that procedure? What does it entail?
I don't think the procedure itself is that risky. I've actually spoke to, a couple of UFC fighters that, have had this procedure done, and they got back in there and were successful winning fights and performing, doing well. And the surgeon that I saw is like the best in the country at a hospital of special surgeries. And he expressed a lot of confidence in doing this procedure and getting me back in there. He told me that it would take about 3 months to be back training full time, essentially 3 to 4 months. And then, of course, it would take some time to prepare for another fight. But I look at it as, you know what, let me get this last fight in, let me get this victory, re sign a deal, and go from there and do this procedure. And you don't fight for 3 months anyways after a fight usually. So I figured it would all work out. And I was being optimistic, but it seemed like the UFC looked at it as like too much of a risk.
Okay. So when did you get official word that you were out of the fight?
So I got official word. It was actually Wednesday morning. They called me. I was getting ready to do interviews and like start working out, cut some weight.
Okay. And did you stay in Vegas for the fight?
No, I ended up going home. I caught like the next flight out of there. I didn't really want to be there or stay there or like have to deal with any of that. So I kind of just asked for when would the next flight be to get back home.
How difficult was that flight? Like you go all the way there, you're thinking you're going to battle, and now you're leaving on the Wednesday or whatever, a few days before, and you don't get that release, right? You don't get that moment, that thing that you had been building towards.
Oh yeah, it was like devastating. It took a while to really sink in because I was just in shock that happened. I didn't expect it. I figure honestly, a lot of fighters have stuff like this going on. They just never get the MRI.
Hmm.
So in retrospect, I'm like, I kind of wish I didn't get it. But then you think, something could have happened to me, could have been a blessing, whatnot. So I wasn't overthinking it too much, but it just hurt because I was coming off, two losses. I didn't perform well in those fights, and I just wanted to get that redemption. You go in there and you want that glory, that feeling of victory, like that. It brings you back to life essentially. And I was waiting for that feeling, and I felt like this was a great matchup for me to go in and display my skills and leave it all on the line. My back was against the fence, like last fight on my deal, so I was motivated going in there.
Is this one of those things that you can go to someone else and they'll give you another opinion and you can maybe avoid surgery, or if you want to continue fighting, you'll have to get the surgery no matter what?
So it's looking, I did get a second opinion, and that doctor essentially told me that the first surgeon that I saw was the best in the country, and he gave me the same exact scenario. It wasn't like, oh, like I see something better. It was kind of straight, to the point. They were both on the same page. So it looks like if I want to continue fighting in MMA, at least with the wrestling involved and all that stuff with the neck, like I probably should get the procedure done. As far as like symptoms and how I feel, like currently, I wouldn't really want to do surgery. It's not something I'm really in favor of. But if I had to continue fighting, I probably will because to me, I know like I'm 36, it's old in the fighting game essentially, but I feel really good. I feel young. I haven't had a lot of injuries in the sport. So I feel like I had at least 3, 4 years left in me, which is what makes it even more heartbreaking.
And so I think it was on Saturday, but it could have been on Friday. Correct me if I'm wrong with the days. It seemed like you were leaning towards retirement, or at least pausing your career for a little bit. Is that an accurate assessment of how you are feeling right now?
Yeah, I feel like at that moment I was a little bit emotional. I feel like I had to kind of figure out like what decision I want to make because I think it is one of those things where like it's either I do the procedure and I can continue fighting or like I don't do it and it's looking like it's unlikely that I can keep fighting with what's going on, So especially as far as the UFC goes, I mean the UFC is like my home and where I want to be and where I want to end my career and I wanted to do it on my terms, So I'm trying to be optimistic. The surgeon's very optimistic, and I think if I get the procedure done, like at least I'm hoping they give me like a farewell fight. At least I can go out on my own terms and get that last fight in. But I guess we'll have to see in the future.
Okay, so you are leaning towards fighting again. You're leaning basically you're leaning towards getting this procedure done and not going out like this.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, as far as the way the surgeon made things feel, as far as the other people I spoke to that have gotten this procedure done and fought after, it seems like it's something that is, very possible. And I think I'm an athlete. I'm a healthy guy. I feel good. I think I'll heal up pretty well. And it's really not like a terrible recovery. It's one of those things like you kind of can walk out of there the next day after this procedure and you can do cardio and you can do bag work and light workouts and stuff like that until about 3 months is where you can start to wrestle and do jujitsu again if everything goes smooth. I figured that's not too bad when it comes to fighting. We take breaks anyways in between fights. I figured it was going to work out where I could fight this fight and kind of deal with it then.
Mm. Did you feel like you were fighting for your UFC career with this fight? Did you feel like if you didn't win, it was going to be hard to resign?
Oh yeah, I mean, coming off the losses and then this fight, being the last fight on the deal, like I was, yeah, essentially fighting for my life, like my career. Which is what motivated me more than anything. I was like, I wanted to go in there just honestly let everything go. There's been fights where the mental game has been a struggle. I didn't pull the trigger for whatever reason. And in this fight, I had spoke to a sports psychologist, did everything I could mentally, physically going into this fight to be the best Brian I could be. And I was ready, I was ready to do that and let it all go. And I was motivated. So it's kind of a weird feeling to like come home from that and not have like nothing happen.
Yeah. Was this your first time talking to a sports psychologist?
I had spoke to one in the past and it was very short lived. I kind of just stubborn about it. You think you can just do things on your own and kind of just meditate and get through things. And I've always been, pretty mentally strong, but I feel like it was a good thing for me to do, just a different wrinkle in my game to add to just kind of make sure that everything was aligned, going into this last fight.
Did you feel like it helped?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm one of those guys. I vent. Like I'll tell you everything I'm feeling. I don't really hide things, so I think like I'm pretty good at speaking about how I feel to my loved ones, my family, everybody. So I think it just kind of added to that. It was someone to talk to outside that I can really open up to, that can kind of give me tools to utilize to bring myself back to the moment, be present. And when it comes down to it, I really felt like it was performance based. Once I get in the cage, like I needed those tools to make sure like my mind stays sharp when I get in there, because I've lost fights because of that.
So, I mean, you've been in the UFC now for about 6 years. Were you one of those guys who was like, if I'm not going to fight in the UFC at this point, I don't want to go back to the regional scene? Were you thinking that you were like legit fighting for your career, or were you open to the idea of working your way back up or finding other avenues, other promotions, etc.?
I was gonna play it by ear. Like I said, I still feel really good physically. I feel like I have more left in me. So had I become a free agent and the UFC decided to release me even off of a win or a good performance, I was still gonna, express my options and see what was out there. And I'm willing to do other things. But in my heart, like I wanna stay with the UFC and finish my career in the UFC, because that's kind of, that's where I've been my whole career as of now.
Mm-hmm. By the way, are we still doing the rapping?
I've taken a little hiatus with that. I feel like I should get back to that.
Yeah, what happened? Why the hiatus?
Now, now's the time. I got some time on my hands to write some bars. I mean, I don't know. I go in and out of it. It's like one of those things, like a hobby kind of thing. So I feel like at my age, I'm not gonna like pursue trying to become like a full time rapper. But it is something that's like therapeutic that I enjoy. I should probably do more of it.
This would be a good time. Maybe it will help you get some emotion out.
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely some things to rap about for sure right now.
Have you ever been in a battle rap?
No, no. I was gonna try to stir the pot with Thug Nasty for a little bit, but
That's right. That would have been
we never got
great.
that going.
I know.
I know.
Who ultimately is at fault for that? Is it like, do you feel like he didn't come to the table?
I don't know. I feel like because we're both kind of cordial. I've seen him at fights. We talk and stuff or whatnot, and he's a good guy, nice guy, and we got along. And I don't think he wanted to really do that. He was talking like he wanted money in order to do something like that.
Yeah,
But I was just like, yeah, it's fun. Even if we didn't do that, we should like get on a track together and make a song.
that'd be great. Honestly, like, just try to like throw. I would say just throw out like a bait diss. Say like the Earth is round, and that would get him fired up. And then and then maybe he'll respond. You get something going.
Yeah, I bet if I get a little bit political, we can
Or that.
get it
I didn't
going.
want to go there necessarily, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good angle as well. You're a homeless cat. I didn't know that.
What's
Are
that?
you a homeless cat? PF Chang's?
What do you mean? PF Chang's, what?
Okay, I don't know if you're keeping your cards close to your vest. I respect it if you are. I mean, you said nice guy, never met him. So I figured
Oh,
homeless cat, PF Chang's.
no, I'm not opposed to PF Chang's though.
Okay, little orange chicken.
Yeah.
Okay,
Little white rice, orange chicken, extra sauce.
yeah, for sure. Walk you to your truck.
Yeah.
um, by the way, are you going to the fight this weekend? It's in sort of your backyard. I mean, it's Newark, not that far from Long Island. You going?
Yeah, I'm gonna go. They just emailed me with the tickets and stuff. It's not too far. It's like an hour and a half drive. So me and my wife are gonna go there and check out the fights. It's gonna be some good fights. Watch Aljo try to defend his title.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's your weight class, and Aljo's a Long Island guy. What's the boom breakdown for this? Who are you leaning towards?
Of course, I'm going to stick to Long Island, but I do think Aljo has more ways to win. I feel like his expertise on the ground, with his back takes, it's like you can't slip up against him with 5 rounds. Like you make one mistake in a scramble, and he gets your back, and like you're in trouble. You're going to be stuck there for a while. So I do lean towards Aljo, but I do think the fight will go long. Like it will go towards the later rounds, if not the distance. And I do think Cejudo is going to be his toughest fight to date, just based off of like his wrestling, his game planning. He's a very cerebral fighter, so I think he'll be smart. But I think Aljo will be throwing a lot more volume out there, and that might be what sways the judges.
Mm, I can't wait for it. The chess match. Like, will they stay standing? Will they go to the ground? Who gets the better of who on the ground with Aljo's jujitsu and Henry's wrestling? I mean, I think it's going to be fantastic. By the way, on Monday, we continued our debate best weight class in MMA and in the UFC in particular. I say 35. New York Rick says 55. Aljo, of course, said 35. Naturally, I would imagine you would say 35 as well.
Yeah, it's one of those things hard to tell. You go down the list. I guess like the level of talent at 35 right now, like even right outside the top 15, is like all guys that could potentially challenge eventually for the title. It's like you see how deep the talent goes. So I would lean towards 35 there, just as far as like matchups are going. Especially like right now, where Song Yudong just beat Ricky Simone, and like that was a tough fight for him, and he looks great. And I think there's just it's deep. You know what I mean? 35 is very deep right now.
Yeah. I love 35 right now, and I think Henry coming back makes it even. I was talking about 35 being the best without Henry. Now Henry back, Olympic gold medalist, two division champ back. I mean, that is absolutely huge. So back to you. When do you decide if you're going to have this surgery or not?
So that's something it's kind of one of those things I got to decide pretty quick, because if I want to get the ball rolling, the recovery time and all that, like I want to get that going as soon as possible, especially if I'm going to fight again. And that's what I want to do. So it's looking like in this next week or two, I'm going to have to make an official decision. I'm going to go see the surgeon again and just kind of express all my options and see what he says and go from there.
I saw you posted a picture of your gloves, which had the tape on them, on a toilet. But if you made it to Wednesday, your gloves wouldn't have been inspected just yet. So what was that picture from?
Oh no, those were an old pair of gloves that I had. That was like a picture that I had that I was just kind of messing around saying like this is bullshit.
Got it. Okay. Okay. I
Like
thought.
the whole scenario was bullshit.
God, I thought that was like your symbolic way of putting the gloves down. That's the way I interpreted it.
Well, the thing is right now I'm hoping that the UFC is also on my side, with whenever I do recover. I feel like it's not a guarantee that they're still going to have me back. And that's the thing. That's kind of where I was headed with that. And I just hope that I can kind of get that last fight with them if that's how they're feeling.
Have you received any indication as to whether or not they feel that same way?
When I spoke to Hunter on the phone, it just seemed like he was so concerned, and he did mention my age, and he said there was a combination of things, and I just feel like it was kind of them saying like where you're at right now in your career, it's almost not worth it to like get this procedure and try to come back. But I don't agree with that. You know what I mean? Of course, I'm a fighter, and I believe I still have more to give. So I think I just have to get this done, prove to them that I'm back in the gym, sparring, looking good and everything. And I think that I can, get that next fight with them and then go from there and hopefully get a win, and then we'll deal with things. But I just don't know if that's something they're going to do.
Okay. Yeah, I can understand that. And so, is there any concern that they won't pay for this? Like, will the insurance cover this?
Oh no, yeah, the UFC is taking care of me. He was very kind with his words towards me, and he was very generous and being willing to take care of this and make sure I get the best, doctors and all that. So I was very thankful for that.
Okay. You want to like? I don't know if do you want to like freestyle about how you're feeling right now? Like, can you think of anything off the top of your head, or is it too hard on the spot? I don't know.
No, no. I think right now I got nothing. I'd probably look terrible if I tried to
I'll give you a
freestyle
beat.
right
I'll
now.
give you a beat.
No. I gotta write something. We'll save
All
it
right,
for
fine.
next
I
time.
thought you could just drop the freestyle
If,
bars.
if there is ever a next time, I appreciate you making me feel relevant again. It's been quite some time.
Oh wow, that feels like a shot there, Brian. I don't know how I feel about
No,
that.
no, no.
I mean, I feel like
No, no, it's actually nice to be on your show again because like it's been so long. It's honestly my own fault. It's like my career's kind of went up and down and stuff, and I feel like you kind of got to earn your stripes. I feel like I needed a couple wins in order to stay relevant in the game.
well, I've always had love for you, and I was sorry to hear this, and I wasn't sure which way you were going, so I wanted to get some clarity, and you've given us clarity, so thank you for that. Good luck with your decision, and if you do decide to go under the knife, excuse me, I hope that it works out, and you're able to make a very speedy recovery and get that last fight. And who knows, maybe you come back, and Aljo had neck surgery. You come back, you knock that dude out, and then all of a sudden you get a new deal. This is a crazy, crazy game. You say you're old. I don't think you're that old. I mean, 36 is it's not too bad. It could be worse. You could be 40 like me. You could be washed up like me. So 36, not bad. So keep your head up. Enjoy the fights on Saturday, Brian. Great to have you back on, even under these circumstances, and I hope it all works out.
Thanks, Harry. I appreciate everything.
All right, there he is. Brian Kelleher joining us. Boom Kelleher. Been on the show quite a bit. Even back in the day was on the MMA Beat. That's pre-Frank and GC.